Good afternoon, everybody. How we all doing? Let's make sure that I got everything up and running right now, and it looks like I do. Yeah, okay. Let's see how many people we got in here right now. We don't have a crazy amount, but we got a few. For the people that are in here, we're only going to be doing 2 questions today. It's not going to be anything mind-blowing, to say the least. We're going to be doing a little bit of long division and synthetic division, and just showing how we can use the division to find factors to a problem. So I'm going to try to keep it brief, and then we'll be able to do some more tomorrow. Shannon Archie, right now we had to leave at the vet. He isn't doing so hot. He had a high fever, so he has to stay there overnight, and we're hoping we can hear back tomorrow on any news, because right now we don't know anything. So I apologize for anybody that needed to come into the Zoom. The same thing might happen tomorrow. I will let you guys know in the remind. As of right now, the Zoom is still on, but I'll send a message out if I cannot attend again, because we're supposed to be going back to the vet around the same time tomorrow. Yeah, we're hoping he's going to be okay. He wasn't eating for the last day and a half, and they said he had a really high fever, so they're just doing a bunch of tests, and they're trying to make sure that he's hydrated, and he's going to be eating up there, and then we'll go from there, and hopefully everything will be good. So if you guys are just popping in, because I see some of you guys are, we are doing just 2 problems. We're going to start off with this one right here. So just write it on a blank page in Notability or piece of paper. I'm just going to show you guys how to factor cubic polynomials that can't be factored with methods that we've used in the past. And this is all going to be algebraic except for one step. So I kind of showed you guys this step in the Unit 10 review, but I figured it would be smart to do some more practice to make sure you guys are okay with it. So I'm going to go through one method that I did with you guys in the past, and I'm going to show you guys that that method is not ideal for this problem because it's not going to work out in our favor. So notice the title of this lesson says Factoring Cubic Polynomials. Do we turn in... Yeah, there's a show before it if you want to turn it in, Sierra, if you already completed it. So I'm highlighting that word factoring because factoring is the key word here. What we're going to do is write this in factored form. That's what it's looking for us to do. Okay. We know how to solve them. We've solved these before. We've solved it through division, and we solved it by finding remainders. It's going to be very, very similar. It's just the last step, or the last 2 steps, are going to be just a little bit different. So I'm going to go through the old way. So what I'm going to do is everything I just wrote down here, this is the original factoring method that we've done. Now this method works a lot, but it doesn't work all the time. So the original factoring method, we said what we were going to do is to split this up into groups. So we put the first 2 terms into bubbles, and then we put the second 2 terms into bubbles, and then we were just going to factor it down. So if you look at the first bubble, you have x cubed minus 5x squared. We could pull an x squared out of both of those. So I'm going to pull out an x squared, and I'm just going to write down what's left over inside the bubble. So we would have x minus 5. As far as the second bubble goes, we have -2 and 24. So we know 2 fits into both of them. I'm going to pull out the -2 because I don't like having the first number being negative. So I'm going to pull a -2 to the outside. And if we divide both those numbers inside the bubble by -2, I'm going to be left with x minus 12. Now, if you guys recall, when we did this factoring method a few months back, we said that we know that we did everything right as long as the bubbles are the same. So in this problem, if you were to look at these 2 bubbles, the x minus 5 and the x minus 12, they're not identical. We cannot factor this with grouping. So factoring by grouping cannot be done. And that's all I'm going to write down here, and then I'm going to show you guys the new method today. So factoring by grouping does not work. Okay. Yeah, that's fine, Sierra. Just email it to me. You'll be okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that same exact problem. I'm just going to copy it and paste it. And I'm going to show you guys how we can do it the right way. So let me put a little line splitting this up. So it's still the same problem. I didn't change any of the numbers, nothing. So I kind of showed you guys how to find the solutions to this problem using your calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my calculator. I'm going to go into y equals. I'll clear out what I have in there. And I'm just going to type in this problem. I have x cubed minus 5x squared minus 2x plus 24. Now, I don't know if Azuchi's in here, but Azuchi did this a different way. It's not looking like he's in here. So I'm not worried about him right now. If he does pop in, I'll make sure to mention it. Azuchi learned a different way with Miss Randolph. I'm not teaching you guys that way. If you guys do take pre-calculus next year with Miss Randolph, you will learn that method. But after you type it in, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the table. And our goal is to find 1, 0. Meaning we have to find one solution where the y value is equal to 0. So let me move this down so it's not going to get in the way. This is question number 2. Move it way down here. So we have to find 1, 0. It can be any 0 that we want. So if you look at our table, we have at x equals 3, it's saying that we have an answer of 0. And at x equals 4, it says that we have an answer of 0. Now, it doesn't matter which one you pick. You're just picking one. I'm going to pick 3. It doesn't matter what you pick. So off to the side, I'm just going to write down x equals 3. I'm just going to box that in. That is a solution to the problem. But remember what I said at the beginning of the lesson, we're not looking for solutions, we're looking for factors. And that was the title of the lesson. It says factoring cubic polynomials. So we have an answer of 3. Now we have to find the factors. In order to do that, we're going to use long division or synthetic division. Now, I'm going to do synthetic division today. Some of you guys are going to prefer still doing long division. So I'll go through the synthetic division process, and if somebody wants me to go through and do the long division with you guys, I can do that as well. Okay? So when we did long division, or synthetic division, we did that upside down division bar. Now what we're going to do is the inside is just going to be that really long polynomial we have up here, and we're only going to put in the coefficients. So the coefficients in this case are 1, -5, -2, and 24. I'm just using the numbers that we already have in the problem. Now I'm going to use the number x equals 3 because we said on the calculator that was a solution to the problem because the answer was 0. You're only allowed to pick answers that are 0. So I'm going to put that 3 on the outside. If I do the synthetic division correctly, that means I should have a remainder of 0 because that's what the calculator said. So when we run through synthetic division, we bring down the first number, and then we multiply the outsides. So 3 times 1 is going to be 3. I'm now going to add those two numbers together. So -5 plus 3 would give us -2. And I'm just going to keep repeating the process. So now I'm going to multiply the 3 by the -2, and that would give us -6. If I add those two numbers straight down, that would give us -8. And if I add that, if I multiply the last part, I'm going to have 3 times -8, which is -24. And we all know that opposite numbers, if they are the same, will give us 0. So I'm going to box that off. I'm going to get rid of the calculator since I keep bumping it. So we have a remainder of 0, and that's what we wanted. So what I want to do is I just want to rewrite this in polynomial form. Okay, so like we've done in the past, I have this 1, but I want to put a variable with an exponent there. And Sierra, I'll do it with long division in a sec. Just let me go through the synthetic first. So that 1 right here, we have to make sure that we follow what the original polynomial was. The original polynomial was an x cubed. So when we did synthetic, we just have to take 1x away to write down the new polynomial. So that means this would become x squared because we took 1x away. Now if I go to the next part, it was -5. The -5 had an x squared next to it, so I have to take 1x away when I go to write it with this -2. So I'm going to write -2x. And then the last part, it only had 1x, that -2x. So when I go to write down the final answer, I have to take 1 away, so it's just going to be that -8. That right there is a polynomial that can be factored. So we just solved it out. We did long division, but the problem asks us to factor it. If you guys look at that x squared minus 2x minus 8, we can factor that using double bubble, and we're going to find that there's 2 more solutions to this problem. I have my x and x, and then -8 can be multiplied to have 4 and 2. And since we want an answer of -2, I'm going to have -4 and +2. Now, we could do a t-chart, and we can get our two more solutions. And I'm going to write them down because I want to make sure you guys know the difference between the vocabulary here. And I just want to point out, we found a third answer using the calculator, remember? The third answer was that x equals 3. So there are 3 answers to this problem, but we're not looking for the answers, we're looking for the factors. So this is what I'm going to write down. I'm going to highlight this part down here. And I want to make sure that you guys understand that these are solutions. Oops. The factors, I don't know why it just highlighted down there. I wasn't even clicking down there. These are known as your factors. The factors are what's inside the bubbles. So we just have to make sure, remember when we went backwards when we were solving the graphs and we had to find the equations? We just have to go backwards in this problem. So we have the x equals 3 down here because that was our third answer. We just have to go backwards and make sure we put it in bubble form because there are 3 bubbles to this problem. And if we go backwards, that's going to be x minus 3. So because this question was asking for us to factor it, we didn't need the solutions, we just needed the factors. So our final solution to this problem would be x minus 3 times x minus 4 times x plus 2. And we would be done. So I'm just going to shrink that and put it off to the side. I know there's a handful of you in here that do prefer long division, so I'm going to go through long division real quick. If you guys feel like you got that down using the synthetic division, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this question down here. What I want you guys to do is to go onto your calculator and try to find a 0 that works for that and do the synthetic division again. If you don't feel 100% comfortable with it, it's okay. Just wait a second. Let me go through the long division, and then I'll jump down to question number 2. Okay? So for the people that want to do long division, what I'm going to do is make my division bar normal. And what I want to do is I want to plug that entire problem inside. So I have x cubed minus 5x squared minus 2x plus 24. Now when we type that into the calculator, we said that x equals 3 was an answer. That is a solution to this problem. Except we just can't write x equals 3 on the outside. We have to change it back into its factored form, just like we did down here. We have to look at the factored form when you do long division. So I'm just calling out on you, Sierra, because you said that you're lost without long division. I just need to make sure that you know that on the outside, you are going to be writing down x minus 3. Okay. So now when you guys do long division, this is where you guys just have to match up your x's. So the question is x times what would give you x cubed? Well, x times x squared would give us x cubed. So now I could distribute that x squared into both of those. So x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times negative 3 would be negative 3x squared. And now we're just walking through the steps of long division. So now that I wrote it underneath, I just have to make sure that I'm subtracting both of those terms, which in the second term, it's just going to become positive. Oops. And if I subtract right down, I'm going to have negative 2x squared. And now I just got to repeat the process. So I'm going to bring down the next number, and I'm going to have negative 2x. And then, once again, I'm just checking to see how many times does x fit in that negative 2x squared. Well, x times negative 2x would give us that answer. So I'm just going to distribute. Again, in order to solve this, I have to make sure I subtract both of them. So I have to put a negative sign in front of both. The first one's going to become positive this time, and it's going to cancel out. And we're going to be left with negative 8x. And I'm going to bring down the last number, which is that 24. And I'm going to do it one last time. And in this case, it looks like it's going to be negative 8 that we have to distribute. That would give us negative 8x plus 24. And once again, we're changing the signs to the opposite. So both of these are going to become negative again. The 8 becomes the opposite. And everything cancels out. And we have a remainder of 0. What you guys should notice is if I did it this long division way, the answer that I got right here, that x squared minus 2x minus 8, is the same answer that we have on top up here. So no matter which route you take, you're still going to get the same solution when you go to solve it out. Okay? So again, remember, there's 3 answers in our solution because this is a cubic function. The exponent of 3 is telling us we have 3 answers. Okay. So when we go down to question number 2, it's going to be the same thing. It's a cubic function, so there should be 3 solutions to it. We just have to find its factors. So I'm going to run through that one, and then we'll call it Sierra. Hopefully it sticks you in to see this one last problem. If it doesn't, definitely go back and watch the video, and don't be afraid to send me an email if you have any questions. Okay, so I'm going to jump down here. Again, I'm going to do it with synthetic division just because it goes a little bit faster. So if I look at this problem right here, once again, I'm going to do the upside down division, and I'm going to put all the coefficients on the inside. So I have 1, 7, 11, and 5. We just need to figure out the number that's going to go on the outside. So in order to do that, we can use this little calculator trick that I was showing you guys. And we're just going to type in that entire polynomial. So I have x cubed plus 7x squared plus 11x plus 5. I'm just going to jump to the table. For some reason, I jumped all the way down into the 30s. And probably, I don't ever recommend using 0. And the reason why I say don't ever use 0 is because, oh, and I'm looking at the wrong thing. Never mind. I looked at this 0 and I thought this 0 lined up with it. So really it looks like it's -1 that we should be using, not 0. So this one's actually a lot easier. We can write off to the side, x is equal to -1. That is a solution to this problem. It's just one solution. There's other solutions. We're just showing it algebraically. So I know I can plug in my -1 for the synthetic division. Now I'm just going to follow all those steps. So I'm going to bring down the 1. I'm going to multiply. So -1 times 1 would give us -1. Now I'm going to add those together. 7 minus 1 would just be 6. I'm going to repeat the process. -1 times 6 is -6. I'm going to add those together. It'll give me 5. And my last multiplication, -1 times 5 is -5. And again, it does check because our remainder is 0. And remember, that was what the calculator told us the answer was. It told us if we plugged in -1, we were going to get an answer of 0. So now I'm just going to rewrite it as a polynomial. So the 1, because it was originally x cubed, we have to take 1 away. That becomes x squared. The next one is going to be a positive 6x. And the last one is just going to be plus 5. So we have one answer. We're looking to find the other 2 because there's 3 possible solutions for this problem. So if I were to factor this out, I have x and x. Well, the only thing we can multiply to get to 5 that's going to add up to give us 6 is got to be 5 and 1. So I'm just going to put in 5. I'm just going to put in 1. They both are going to be addition. So again, we're looking for the factors. We don't have to t-chart. We just have to find that third factor. Well, the third factor is what we started with. It's this part right here. We just have to put it in bubble form. So if it was x equals -1, if we want to put it in bubble form, we just have to move the -1 back over to the other side, and it's going to be x plus 1. What we now have done is found all the factors for this given polynomial. So again, if you try doing factoring by grouping like we tried doing in the first problem, it wouldn't work. Another check to make sure you guys are good, if you go to your calculator, if we were to do the t-chart, this we set as -1, this one would be at -5, and this one would be at -1. Well, if you're looking at your calculator, if we go to -1, there was a 0, and we had 2 -1s there, so that's called a double root. And we also had -5, and that says it's a 0. Your calculator won't always check it that nicely, though, because sometimes your answers are going to be fractions, and your calculator can't find the fractions. So we're going to do, so tomorrow I'm going to do 2 more problems with you guys that are going to have fractions for answers. And just like we did for yesterday's lesson, I'll add on 2 questions for homework, and then that's all we're going to be doing for the week. Friday, I'll do like a very small lesson that's going to have one of these problems and one with the inequalities we did the other day, just in case if anybody's struggling on the homeworks this week. But my game plan is every week for however long we're doing this, I'm only going to give you guys 2 lessons for the week. I don't want to overload you with your other classes, and I want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to turn in your assignments. Okay? So your only homework this week is really just 4 questions. It was 2 questions that we did from yesterday, and then it's going to be 2 questions that I give you guys tomorrow. Okay? Do we just do the opposite? So yes, Sierra, because you have to change it into a factor. So if you're going to do that second one with the long division, you just have to change this right here into that x plus 1 and put it on the outside. And if you solve it all out, Sierra, you should get this answer of x squared plus 6x plus 5 on the top. Okay? Does anybody else have any questions? I know Sierra's been talking a lot, but I see there's a few other people in here, so I just want to check to see how you guys are feeling. If you don't have any questions, like I said, try to get the lab done and make sure you guys are getting those 2 questions that I gave you guys yesterday done with the inequalities. I already got some of you guys who submitted, so thank you for that. I don't think I have anything else to add at this point. Okay. You're good? That's good. So if you know that you're missing assignments, get them in. I don't want you guys have it lingering for the next couple of weeks and then all of a sudden you have to do 20 assignments in one night just to get your grade in. I know Mr. B is going to be sending a letter home within the next couple of days. It's going to talk about how the remainder or how the fourth quarter is going to kind of work and everything. I've kind of talked to most of you guys about it, but definitely give that little message a read with your parents so you guys know what's going on. As far as I can tell, as long as you guys all go through and do what you're supposed to do for this fourth quarter, any Regents classes, it sounds like the state's going to exempt you from the Regents and give you the Regents credit still. At least that's how I read the article that Mr. B sent out. But you can't give up on the fourth quarter, because if you give up on the fourth quarter, then you don't get the exemption. So you still have to go through and do whatever work that's necessary, and I'm just trying to keep it at a minimum for you guys. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. Sierra, I'm not going to give the homework until tomorrow. So today was just an introduction to the lesson. Tomorrow I'm going to do 2 more problems just like this, and then I'll have the homework attached to that. No, you're fine. You're fine. So yeah, as far as the homework goes, if you didn't finish the homework from yesterday, work on that, those 2 questions. If you already got that done, you guys can chill with math for tonight. You don't really have to worry about anything. Okay? So I hope you guys have a great evening. I will let you guys know if I'm going to be in Zoom tomorrow. Again, I'm not 100% sure. We're supposed to get a call from the vet around 8 tonight, and she's going to update us on Archie. So we're hoping for good news, and we'll go from there. Okay? So you guys have a great evening, and I will catch you all later.